is the Piers Morgan show the Geraldo Rivera or Jerry Springer of the internet? I don't know. Let's talk about it.
Ooh, you are listening to the Billy Flint Experience.
Thank you so much for joining us once again here at the Billy Flint Experience. I am your host, Billy Flint, coming live here from Germany. And as the title of the show, the Piers Morgan show has definitely become a three-ring circus. I just... there is just so much. There is definitely so much to unpack in this. You know, and then there was a time, of course, a few podcasts before I actually stated that I actually like Piers Morgan and the content that he brings forward. I don't know whether or not he's live on the BBC from England, or is his show is just pretty much dedicated to YouTube and the YouTube audience. I'm not for sure which one it is, but his recent show I had a chance to watch, and it actually was live. And I have to question, now I'm questioning the guests that he bring onto his show. And it seems as though he has a balance. He has definitely a balance. He has the YouTube sphere, the guests or the YouTube content creators. And then he has either a lawyer or a couple of lawyers. And then he has someone else from like entertainment, media or something. But he has a balanced scale. But the guests that he seems to bring on as of lately from the internet sphere, it seems as though it seems he's pushing this narrative of this conspiracy theory narrative. And the reason I say that is because one of his guest from last night, goes by the name of Choke No Joke. He's he's one of the content creators that I do enjoy listening to from time to time, and he's very entertaining to say the least. He's very, very entertaining, and his approach towards his content. But this is going to be very critical. Okay, I'm gonna, no disrespect, first and foremost. And I like the way he presented himself last night, but we have to talk about Piers Morgan and the fact that he's bringing these guests on. And I'm thinking like, okay, is it that he's purposely trying to make them look like a fool or unhinged to balance out his other guest, or is it the fact that it's the fault of the guest not being prepared? And that's the whole thing that I want to talk about as far as Choke No Joke. And I'm not going to keep calling him that. I'm going to call him partly by his government name. I don't know, is this like Antoine or Anton? Hold on for a second. Okay. No. His name is Arthur D. Austin III. So I'm going to call him Arthur. Okay, Choke No Joke. Okay, fine. But anyways, his government name is Arthur D. Austin III. And he was one of the guests on last night, in which the show was circled or encircled around of course, the main subject that has been all over the social media, all over the news and social media. Of course, we're talking about Sean Diddy Combs and his SA allegation. And I've spoken about this before, about most of the information that is on the internet now. It's really gone overboard, with everyone seeming to pick apart every aspect of it and making their content out of the information. And it's over inundated on YouTube, especially YouTube. A lot of conspiracy theory, a lot of misinformation, and a lot of flat out fake news. And that's not what I'm saying as far as Choke No Joke was the way he presented himself, because when Piers Morgan, the podcast is up now, where you can actually go and view it. Again, it's very entertaining. It's very insightful. And again, they are talking about the allegations. And his guest was a young lady and another gentleman who was a lawyer. And I guess the lady, the lady that was on there, I guess she was a lawyer. Maybe she was a part of the entertainment industry. Not for sure, but one thing I can say about Piers Morgan is that he did give Choke No Joke most of the talking points. But the way that Choke No Joke presented himself to me is that he was unprepared. He did not have any notes. He didn't have his facts ready for, I think as the viewers now, the count is like almost 500,000. It's like it was 600,000 the last time I checked. But to go on to a national platform, I would think that you would be prepared. And again, this is not taking away anything of what Choke No Joke presented himself as, because he did make a lot of valid points. But towards the end, he pretty much shown himself as being like a YouTube conspiracy theorist. And again, I have to blame Piers Morgan. And I'm thinking that his show is now, it's almost like a 3-ring circus. First, it was the Jaguar Wright. Of course, she presented herself very stable, but a lot of her information was a lot of misinformation and not verifiable as far as the way she presented it. And it was kind of fake news. And the same thing with Choke No Joke. Towards the end of the show, what he was saying as far as the Diddy allegations and him, and I'm pretty much sure he's going to have to retract this, because of the fact that the information that he put out there was unverifiable. And what he was saying as far as Tupac and Notorious B.I.G., Christopher Wallace unaliving, in which he verbatimly pointed towards Sean Diddy Combs at being or having a hand at their unaliving without an allegation, or saying allegation, or saying, I'm sorry, not allegation, without saying allegedly towards the allegations of what he was presenting. And I have a short clip, and as I'm sitting here listening to what he was saying, it became almost cringeworthy and almost embarrassing. It was kind of hard to listen to at a point, because he was tripping over his words. and he wasn't making much sense. And again, I can only speculate that I understand, okay, you're on a national platform and you know that there's going to be hundreds of thousands of viewers. Okay, yeah, you're a little nervous. I get that. I understand that. And again, this is not taken away, and this is not to jump all over Choke No Joke. I'm not taking anything away from what he has provided as far as content on YouTube and his past at being a videographer for the hip hop community. He's very well known, very respected, but I'm just saying, as far as I always say, if you're going to act as if you are a journalist, then at least have your information correct. This, in my opinion, was his shining moment. Piers Morgan is pretty big. He's very well respected. Some people call him a racist, but I'm not going to go there. It's neither here nor there. But I say that to say this is that Piers Morgan is well respected, and for someone to go onto his show to have that many, that in my opinion is your shining glory. That is your moment to shine. That is your 15 minutes of fame. And I have to say that towards the end, Choke No Joke blew it. But we're going to listen to part of the, let me pull it up. We're going to listen to a part of the show where he had his chance to speak. And again, maybe it's me. Maybe I'm being overcritical. I don't know. And if it is, then that's fine. But this is just my opinion. But I'm going to play it, and I want you to take a listen.
Yeah. Can I please say something, please? Ma'am, I don't know who you are, right? But I would like for you to consider that this is a man that has 4 children, right? There's more than 4 children.
7.
But he has 4 children. He has 4 children that don't have a mother. He has 4 children that don't have a father.
Okay, now, I didn't mean to stop it right there, but what they're talking about Sean Diddy Combs. Or he's talking about Sean Diddy Combs. And again, this is, the fact that he didn't have his information or he didn't have his notes in front of him to present it in such a professional level. He came off as kind of tripping over his words and not having his facts straight. Okay, let's get back to it.
On the outside, right? Along with the other children. So as a black man, right? I don't care how detrimental your life is, right? He's not killing himself and he's not fleeing the country with his children out here. Like, please
I'm sorry, I find
have
that
some
very
compassion
hard to believe.
for
I'm sorry. This is a man who's facing sexual trafficking
if he wanted to kill himself,
people might have said the same thing.
If he wanted to kill himself, he would have been dead already.
But Choke, I mean, you might have said the same thing about Jeffrey Epstein.
Exactly.
Yeah, many of his friends would have said he'll never kill himself, but he did.
He
allegedly did.
Who's to say that he killed himself?
Well, obviously,
I don't believe he killed himself.
I know the conspiracy theories. We don't know. It is believed he killed himself. But we don't know.
No, and ironically, Piers, the cameras wasn't working when he hung himself.
I agree that there is a lot of stuff going on there which is very
I just think it's a bit too late for P. Diddy to try and start playing good daddy after the kinds of things he's being alleged or accused of committing, including abusing
good
Cassie,
daddy,
which we have on film.
Ma'am, I'm not saying be good daddy. And his mother didn't deny or dispel anything about the Cassie video. She actually condemned him in that, but Pierce didn't read that part. But what I'm saying to you is the man ain't killing himself, and he's not playing good daddy. It's just the fact that you love your children, good, bad, or indifferent. And I'm sure his children are very, very disappointed and their father, but at the end of the day, they don't want to see him dead.
Of course not. But that's not what I'm saying they want to happen. I'm saying that this has got so bad and so out of control that I don't think it's inconceivable that he will choose to end his life. If he
You didn't wait for the best part yet. The best part didn't happen yet. The best part is,
where he's sentenced
I
to
believe,
life in
allegedly,
prison.
he's going to be indicted for the murder of Tupac and the Notorious B.I.G. I think that's what's coming down the pipeline.
Okay, I stand corrected. He did say allegedly. Okay, I was, I guess from listening to it, I didn't hear the alleged part, but that's neither here nor there. Even if you say allegedly, without having your facts, without any facts to show for what you are presenting in your speech, that is slanderous accusation, and they can still come after him for saying that because there is no verifiable proof that Sean Diddy Combs had anything to do with the unaliving of Tupac or Notorious B.I.G. or Christopher Wallace.
This stuff right here is serious, but I believe that he's going to be indicted for the alleged murder for hire of Tupac Shakur.
Can I ask you, Choke,
well
is that based on information that you know, that you've been told?
That's information on all the evidence that's out there.
Right, but have you? I mean, do you believe that evidence is correct? Do you think?
Okay. Again, I'm sorry for keep cutting this, but even Piers Morgan stepped out to say, okay, is that factual? Is this something that you know for a fact from your research of information, or is it conspiracy theory?
There's enough evidence that says that he was involved.
I believe from all the evidence that's been out there, all the people that talked on YouTube, that the quad hit, Diddy was there with Jimmy Henchman, right? Jimmy Henchman had a problem with Tupac. This is why Tupac got shot at Quad Studios. To make a long story short, at the end of it, you have a guy named Gene Dale that works for Diddy that says that he saw a check that a guy named Eric Von Zip had, and he told him that the check was for the murder of Tupac Shakur. Now, there's a YouTuber by the name of Doggy Diamonds. Gene Dale tells Doggy Diamonds, yo, you saw the check for Biggie's life? And he corrects me, he said, no, I saw the check for Pac's life. Eric Von Zip had a check in his right back pocket, and he said it came from Black Ground Records, right? Well, Jimmy Henchman was working with Black Ground Records. So if you tie the Tupac shooting at Quad Studio and you go all the way to the end of it, if there was a check, allegedly, if this was true and Diddy did pay for the hit on Tupac and Suge Knight, and that check came from Black Ground Records, it leads right back to the Quad Studios shooting where when Tupac got shot, Diddy was in the studio with Jimmy Henchman. But they don't tell that story. They make it look like Diddy was in the studio with Biggie. No, Biggie had went behind Diddy's back and got a deal with Atlantic Records and was having a secret meeting, having a secret recording session for the first Junior Mafia album. They was recording their first song. Diddy found out that Biggie was having a session. He came to Quad. He was getting ready to bust in on Biggie. But the shooting with Tupac deferred the plan. But Diddy was going to bust in on Biggie to find out that he had a whole nother deal. He was in there recording. So to make a long story short, Diddy and or Sean Combs and Notorious Big Christopher Wallace had a publishing deal together. With that publishing deal, Notorious B.I.G. is to write songs and Diddy gets a portion of the money. What Biggie did, which was wrong, is he went and wrote all the stuff for Little Kim and Junior Mafia and lied to Diddy and told him that they wrote their own stuff. So back the day before Biggie died, Gene Deal tells the story of how he was smoking weed with Biggie, and he was security. He was not supposed to be smoking. Biggie told Diddy that we need more security because Gene was high. So Gene, in return, tells Diddy, hey, man, Biggie, he wrote all the Lil' Kim stuff and Junior Mafia. Big and Diddy jumps in Biggie's face. Say it, you wrote it, say it. And Big is like, oh man, come on, Diddy, right? The next day, Biggie was dead.
Well, that is what they call a dropped intro bombshell. Look, there are lots of rumors to that effect. I haven't heard it spelled out in quite the detail you just did. Absolutely fascinating. All I would say about any of it is I don't know what happened and whether he was involved in the shootings of Tupac or indeed Biggie. What I do know is that when I watched that video of him beating up his girlfriend in a hotel corridor, I thought this guy is capable of a lot of very, very nasty violence against people. And so nothing...
I mean, we seen him beat Steve Stout up.
Okay. Again, it seems as though he was all over the place. He was just... Again, and I have to attribute it to maybe the fact that he was nervous. Okay, he was nervous. He was... but that's not an excuse not to have your notes or being prepared for such a show where there's many, many viewers, and that was his time to shine. And again, this is not a dump on Choke No Joke and his platform, but it's just a situation that Piers Morgan brings him on, give him all the talking points, because he did most of the talking over the two guests. And again, like I said, there was a young lady, and then I know the other gentleman that was there, he was a lawyer. But throughout the show, he gave pretty much Choke No Joke the talking points because of the fact that Choke No Joke being so connected to the hip hop community. And of course, this is all circled around Sean Diddy Combs and him being such a large figure in the hip hop community throughout his 30-year career. So I can understand why Piers Morgan decided to bring him on. But like Jaguar Wright, the information that is bring forward, again, is a lot of conspiracy theory and a lot of misinformation. And it makes the YouTube content creators, it makes us look bad. Makes us all look like we are conspiracy theorists and we are just basically spewing misinformation or fake news. Again, this is just my opinion, and I watched it because of the fact that Choke No Joke was on as a guest, and I wanted to really view this. But again, at that point, it became kind of cringeworthy. And I'm saying to myself over and over again, why wasn't he prepared? Why didn't he at least have notes or correct information to present on Piers Morgan's show that would have been more direct to his listeners and followers? And that was just his moment to shine. And I think that, I think that he dropped the ball. Again, this is just my opinion. Maybe I'm being overcritical. And this is just my opinion. But for Choke No Joke to bring in other individuals, like he said, Doggy Diamond and Gene Dill, I don't know, to kind of like almost co-sign to what he was saying, it came off again as unhinged, and it wasn't a good look. And again, that's my my own opinion. So in other news, we have a lawyer coming out of Houston goes by the name. And again, this is another gentleman that I have to question. Goes by the name of Tony Busby. You know, I'm sure that everyone has heard about this lawyer, because he is the one that is behind the new 120 cases. These are the new cases that has sprung up over the past couple of days, at least over the past week. And Tony Busby has been saying that he has names of the individuals in the entertainment industry that has been involved in Sean Diddy Combs' quote-unquote freak-offs. And as most lawyers, and how most lawyers are seen, they're seen as being the bottom of the barrel, and they're all corrupt. And they're not to be trusted, and that they're pretty much out for a payday. So, Tony Busby, again, he's a lawyer out of Houston, Texas. And I decided, who is this lawyer? Because I haven't heard anything about him. Again, like over the past week or so, his name has been popping up all over the internet, all over YouTube, and on different platforms as being the head lawyer. And again, this is a difference. He's a civil. These cases are civil versus the federal. And the victims that he is now representing, as he has been stated, it's been over 1,000 that has been calling in to present their case as victims, but he narrowed it down. He vetted all the people and all the calls down to 120. And he says that he has names. He has a list of names of entertainers that are connected to this so-called quote-unquote freak-offs of Mr. Sean Diddy Combs and what he is being indicted for. And I have a clip of him explaining his process of vetting the people that has called in his number. And I'm going to drop my 2 cents after that. So we're going to listen to this gentleman, lawyer from Houston, Texas, Tony Busby.
Then there's people who send you information that you've never seen before, videos that were taken at a particular party, pictures that were taken at a white party in the Hamptons, things like that you kind of put in a folder and say, okay, this is information that we could use. We just have to put it in context. There's people that call and say, hey, I witnessed this, or I saw this, or I was at this party and here's how it went, or you should talk to this person. Hey, this person has information. You should find them and contact them. So there's that group of people. And then, of course, there are people that say, I was a victim of conduct that should have never happened, and I'm coming forward. And so, we have about 100 people who all hours of the day who are sifting through this, returning calls, talking to people, asking for information to try to figure out, how large is. And then, of course, we did the press conference. We received about 12,000 calls, so much so that the system, it's a computerized call system, crashed. But the good news is that the way it's set up is that even if the call wasn't answered, the call number was logged so the call could be returned. And so we're sifting through those. And of course, the goal is to only pursue the cases that are legitimate. The only pursue the cases that that we can corroborate, with the understanding that I look through this from the prism of, if you're a victim and you have the courage to come forward, and after I've read you the Riot Act, which I always do, which is, hey, you need to understand these are difficult. You need to understand this is not a cakewalk. That's not a walk in the park. You need to understand that when we ultimately, first thing we're going to do is we're going to send a letter with your identity involved in it that lays out the allegations. We're going to send that to the other side, and we're going to try to resolve your case on the front end. If that doesn't happen, that's public. Every court in the United States is a public system, so people can log on and they can see who's filing what. We're going to file the case under a pseudonym, but it's my full belief that at some point the other side, the alleged perpetrators, are going to try to force us to disclose your name publicly. So you need to be prepared for that. At some point, as this process goes forward, you're going to have to sit in a room with an army of lawyers who have went into, done a deep dive into your past. They're going to go all the way back to high school. They're going to look at everything you did or failed to do. They're going to look at every social media post that you've done. They're going to want to have a download of your cell phone. They're going to look. They're going to talk to everybody that knows you or has known you, and they're going to attack you and attack you and attack you, because defense number one in cases like this is attack the credibility of the victim. And they're going to deny. They're going to deny that they ever were in a room with you. They never heard of you. They don't know you. They didn't do anything to you. And when we show that, we can prove that you guys were in the same room at this point in time, and we can prove that there were illicit drugs there that were being given to people without their knowledge, then they're going to say all that might be true, but we still didn't do anything to you and you can't prove it. And, then it's going to come down to the word of the victim versus the word of the alleged perpetrator, and we're going to have to test the credibility of each, and ultimately a jury will make that decision. And that's a arduous process. It's very difficult. The court system doesn't make it easy. And frankly, it shouldn't be easy, because these types of allegations are very, very serious and very egregious. And so that's the process that we're going through. And for us, it's a Herculean task. It's a lot of labor, a lot of administrative work. And so at this point, we have 120 cases that are, I hope to start filing cases in the coming weeks. A lot of people are focused, laser focused on, okay, Tony, who are you going to name? And, who are the celebs that you're going to out and all that? And I'm not so focused on that. I'm more focused on making sure that on each case that we capture every entity, every individual who was complicit.
Okay, so again, that is Tony Busby. Again, he's a lawyer from out of Houston, Texas. And if you do a research on him and his cases, it's in my opinion, I think he's an ambulance chaser. He's out for the money. Although he says that his main focus is for the victims. But again, he's saying that he has a list of names that he will be presenting from the other people that have been involved in these quote-unquote freak-offs of Sean Diddy Combs. Interesting pass from a lawyer. Of course, he doesn't have a very good rep coming out of Houston. A lot of people, and again, no one really trusts lawyers, okay? That is a known fact. All lawyers are bad, quote-unquote, blah, 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 blah. But his detractors, he has a lot of people not liking his practices, and that he himself should be investigated as a lawyer. But he is definitely, in my opinion, an ambulance chaser, because all the people, or the so-called celebs that are connected to this case, everyone is wanting to know, or the public is wanting to know, who are these celebs that are connected. The celebs that have come forward to pay the victims, him being a lawyer, of course, he's going to get his cut. And I think that's what it's pretty much all about. He's trying to get his money up front before the federal case begins. And of course, these alleged names or celebs that are part of that, it doesn't necessarily mean that they will not still be called in once this case get underway. Once this trial gets underway, they still can be called in. Okay, they still can be subpoenaed. But the fact that he is going after these celebs based on what the victims are alleging, and he's bringing them in and he's trying to get them to pay these the victims, and that's what is taking place. But his past, again, he's not a very likable person coming out of Houston. If you go back and do your research, 5 years, most of the cases that he has taken over or he has been a part of has been questionable, or his ethics as being a lawyer has been questionable, and has been questioned by a lot of people out of Houston or out of Texas. So I know this is going to be very interesting on how it turns out. If anything, I would say all of this misinformation and all of these new victims coming forward looking for a pay, because that's what it seems like. It seems like this is a payday. People are looking for a payday. They're looking for anything to get paid. While this is hot on the table, this Sean Diddy Combs case is hot on the table. It's hot on the table. So everyone is coming forward and saying that they were a victim of his quote unquote freak offs. So in my opinion, I think that he is pretty much taking this case, getting his money before the real deal drops. And again, that's just my opinion, but that's what it seems like. And if anything, this is only going to make, once the trial starts, it's only going to, and if Sean Diddy Combs have the right lawyers in his corner, if he has a dream team in his corner, it's only going to make his case look not that bad. If anything, if anything they have on him that is solid is the video of him and Cassie. Everything else is pretty much, okay, what do they have? And maybe the federal prosecutors, maybe they got something much more substantial. But that is to be seen. So again, this is just my opinion. And my unpopular opinion is, at the end of the day, if anything, the word on the street is that, okay, if Sean Diddy Combs is found guilty, he's going to spend between 20 to life in prison. But my unpopular opinion is, when all of this is said and done, based on all of the misinformation that is put out and all of the conspiracy theory, and he's being judged publicly, my unpopular opinion is he's probably going to get 10 years at the best and 7 years for good behavior. But again, that's just my own unpopular opinion. But we shall see how this all turns out. Again, thank you so much for listening to the Billy Flint Experience. I am your host, Billy Flint. Look forward to being with you again. Have a safe day. Be careful. And we will be with you again soon.
Go on, you've got another 5 seconds. Say something outrageous.
You dirty bastard.
Go on, again.
You dirty fucker.
What a clever boy.
What a fucking rotter.
Well, that's it for tonight.